Dropping out of orbit.
Bring our altitude down at a rate of 100 meters per second. Oh, hello. Welcome to the Nerdy Photographer Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Fatchett. In addition to providing informative and entertaining photography-related content, I also go on adventures with the crew of the Starship Fibonacci. Right now, the crew and I are about to document a massive storm on a gas giant orbiting the star designated F4RT67. The storm is 5 times the size of planet Earth, and it appears to be growing. Fib, let's try to keep it as steady as possible.
My hull is going to need buffing after this.
I don't want to know about what you do on your personal time. Speaking of big storms, in this episode, I'm talking with a return guest, landscape and nature photographer Jake Case, who comes back to us to talk about monsoon season in the American Southwest and the ins and outs of storm chasing.
Wind speeds approaching 500 kilometers per hour.
Buckle up, everybody. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Tired of juggling multiple programs to get the perfect look? Say hello to On1 Photo Raw, the ultimate photo editing software built by photographers for photographers. It's fast, powerful, and packed with tools, from precision masking to AI-powered enhancement. On1 Photo Raw gives you complete creative control without the subscription headaches. Edit raw files with ease, retouch like a pro, and bring your vision to life with stunning effects, all in one intuitive platform. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, On1 Photo Raw helps your photos stand out and your workflow stay smooth. Ready to upgrade your editing game? Download a free trial. Just go to nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/on1. That's nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/on1 and start creating without limits. Use our link and the discount code NERDYPHOTO20. That's NERDYPHOTO20 and save 20% off if you decide to purchase or subscribe to On1 software. On1 Photo Raw, powerful, creative, yours. Photographers, it's time to revolutionize your workflow with Aftershoot. Imagine culling through thousands of images in a matter of minutes, effortlessly flagging blurry shots and closed-eye pictures. Now you can stop imagining and meet your new photography sidekick, Aftershoot, the game-changing AI photo culling and editing software. Say goodbye to hours spent sifting through images, as Aftershoot's AI can cull thousands of photos in just a few minutes, grouping together similar shots and flagging those blurry or closed-eye pics. I have been using Aftershoot for a little over a year, and I have to say, it has transformed the workflow on the portrait side of my business, culling and organizing my photos from family portrait sessions to corporate headshots in a matter of minutes. For engagements, events, and weddings, it does a great job as a first pass cull for me, since I like to go through and make sure I didn't miss anything, but those family and group photos are all solidly organized together, and that saves me so much time. You can also make your artistic vision a reality. Aftershoot's automated AI editing is customizable to your unique style. Edit thousands of images in just a few clicks, achieving consistency and brilliance effortlessly. Sign up now at nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/aftershoot and experience the Aftershoot advantage with your first month free. Transform your workflow and transform your business. Go to nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/aftershoot or click the link in the episode notes and free up time for what you love by letting AI handle the heavy lifting so you can focus on capturing moments and not sorting through them. Hello and welcome to the Nerdy Photographer Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Fatchett. And on this episode, we have our friend Jake Case back with us. Jake, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Casey.
You're always welcome. For those who don't know, Jake is a landscape photographer in Arizona, but he's recently taken on a new aspect of photography. Before we get into that, though, we're going to roll the dice breaker, and it's 17. And that means, who is your, if you could choose one fictional character to be friends with, who would it be?
Oh my God, you're putting me on the spot right off the bat, as usual. Man, I'm like kind of going blank here. How about Harry Potter?
good friend to have. He takes care of his friends for the most part.
My daughter's been super into Harry Potter for a while, so that that was like the first one that came to mind for sure.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah,
so
nice to have somebody that's brave and knows magic.
Yeah, magic is good, and he's rich.
Yeah, true.
You have recently gotten into storm chasing, as specifically like the Arizona monsoon season. For those people who aren't familiar, what exactly is the Arizona monsoon season? How does this type of storm chasing differ from, say, like what they've probably seen on television, like tornado chasing that most people see from like the Great Plains or Texas and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So, monsoon season out here, it runs June through September, and we don't really get a lot of tornadoes out here. We don't get a lot of the supercells, and from a photography perspective, out on the plains, like you can go storm chasing and try to get close to a tornado. Try to photograph the tornado. I mean, some of the people that are trying to get real close to the tornadoes, they're not necessarily trying to make like fine art photos.
Right.
They're just, sometimes it's like they're live streaming on YouTube, or what, it's a little different thing than fine art photography.
Yeah,
but there's other folks out on that go and try to get like the mothership supercell is what they call it. And so here in Arizona, because we get a little bit of that kind of here at in the end of September, but for the most part, our storms are lightning producers, and they produce torrential downpours, kind of like like the old cartoons where I think it was like in Charlie Brown, like one of the characters has a rain cloud following him.
Yes.
And it's just raining on him, but there's like no rain anywhere else. But that's kind of what our storms do. So you can get these really cool angles where there could be blue sky, and then there could be a thunderhead, and then there's just like a downpour dropping out of the bottom of it. And then we also have the dust storms, which we call them haboobs. It's a specific type of dust storm where the winds kick dust up thousands of feet into the air, and then it's like a wall of dust moving at pretty high speed across the desert.
Those are
the types of things we're kind of going after out here.
If you've ever seen the movie The Mummy, like that sort of like the wall of dust and sand, that type of that type of look. I saw your photos from one you captured earlier this year. Just crazy. So what inspired you?
That was like the haboob of the decade.
What inspired you to shift from I mean, I know you're still doing landscape photography, but like to incorporate the more unpredictable world of storm chasing into your photography?
I mean, honestly, it was because I think the last time I was on the pod here with you, I talked a little bit about how I took like a hiatus from photography for almost 6 years. And, during that time, I was seeing a lot of, the goat of modern monsoon storm chasing. His name's Mike Olbinski. And, I've been following him for like 15 years. Him and I actually probably picked up the camera around the same time. And so I was seeing like his photography and his time-lapse films that he was making of the storms. And, when I picked back up the camera, that was, one of the things where I was like, I've never photographed a haboob, and I want to do that. that was, the kind of the inspiration, and also like early on when I started landscape photography, I got this photo of lightning bolts over this really unique desert waterfall. It's called Grand Falls, aka Chocolate Falls, aka Niagara of the desert. And it basically, when it runs, it doesn't run all the time. It's only when there's a bunch of water coming from upstream. And it looks like the chocolate river from Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, because it's so charged with dirt and sand from the desert. And so it was like 2010, and I somehow knew enough of how to use my camera. I ended up at this waterfall to shoot sunset, and then this monsoon storm came kind of after the sun went down and was dropping lightning bolts, and I got like a long exposure. And it's,
You got hooked.
It was like a really rare photo. I've only seen one other like set of photos from that spot with lightning there. And it's now closed to the public, like you can't even go there. For like the last 4 years. So when I got that photo, it was almost like I wasn't really motivated to shoot lightning, because I got like a holy grail lightning landscape. But when I picked the camera back up, like I was looking through all my old photos, and I was like, oh, I love shooting lightning, but I only have like, that photo and like one other lightning photo that I ever did. I was like, there's so much more I could do with it. So anyway, that was kind of like the inspiration.
You got the great shot. You're like, I don't know if I need to add anything to this just yet. Maybe later on. I can see that happen. So
yeah,
this is a totally different thing. No, not totally different. I mean, but like is very different than being a landscape photographer. What sort of, how's the learning curve? Like, what are the challenges that you've come up against? Going like now you're chasing storms. You're not like, it's very different from like shooting a regular landscape where you're kind of like, okay, I know I've got to be here kind of like at X time, and hopefully, whatever cloud cover is not like predicting, whether or not you're going to get a storm, whether you're going to get lightning, whether you're going to get a haboob, those sorts of things. It seems like a vastly different preparation process.
Yeah, for sure. So, thinking back to when I was just starting to learn photography and really into landscape photography, there was the learning curve of, just the kind of the basics of photography, like dialing in composition and focus and exposing properly, and then, finding photogenic locations. And on any given day here in Arizona, like you could go anywhere in the state basically and find a great landscape photo to shoot. The hard part about storm chasing is being like at the right place at the right time, and depending on what you want to get, it could end up being like a 1 square mile
right.
worth of area that you want to get to, and then finding a spot within that area where you can get to safely. You can get the camera set up with, like if you don't want to have power lines in your photo, like, there's just
a place is going to have
there's just all these different factors that come into play. And for me, it's been really difficult, like not learning the meteorology necessarily, but like understanding how deep I need to go into learning meteorology to actually be able to like have a like predict or have a feel of where to go to get really close
Right.
to the storms.
To have a better idea of where you should actually be going so that you don't. I mean, this is just like with anything in photography, you're learning what you need to know so you don't waste your time on things that, aren't going to work.
Yeah,
That
for
applies
sure.
to
And
many aspects of.
and my understanding is, because I haven't chased the tornadoes and the supercells out on the plains, but my understanding is, from hearing what some veteran storm chasers have said publicly, the Arizona monsoon is a lot harder to chase than the supercells out on the Great Plains. It's just way more unpredictable. Way more factors to consider. So
why is that? I'm curious.
Yeah, it can be pretty frustrating.
Why is it so much more unpredictable than?
It gets into the meteorology, but basically like out on the plains, the supercells are moving from west to east, and they're always moving that direction. And so there's kind of like all these different like the data you can look at and the weather models. It's pretty consistent of how to predict generally where and when a supercell is going to pop up. And you might have multiple supercells that you could see or could potentially happen. And so it's there's choices to make, and there's some amount of unpredictability. But here in Arizona, it's the winds are shifting in a lot of different directions. Actually, the name monsoon, it's an Arabic word. It means seasonal shift in winds. And so it basically, normally most of the R winds blow from the southwest and bring storms in off the Pacific. In June and early July, a high pressure system that's normally down in Mexico moves up, and it sits over usually kind of Colorado, the Four Corners, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico border. And so it causes the winds to blow from the south generally and bring moisture up from the Gulf of California, Gulf of Mexico, the tropics, wet areas of Mexico, and it brings this moisture up. But that high pressure can move different directions. So if it sits over Las Vegas, it can bring storms in from different directions. But these winds are kind of like swirling different ways, and then sometimes the storms spark off from other storms where they have these outflow winds that blow after a storm's kind of dying out. It sends the outflow winds, and those carry moisture. And then if they collide with other outflow winds, you can spark off new storms. But sometimes the outflow winds don't happen like you think they're going to happen.
Yeah.
Or they go a slightly different direction, and there's all these different factors that make it's crazy out there when it's going on.
Well,
most of the time I'm driving around looking at the weather radar and saying, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just hope that a storm pops up near where I am or where I'm going to be in an hour, and we'll see what happens.
Did you have a moment when you started doing this where you kind of realized just how unpredictable it was?
Well, yeah, and there was, last summer. Last summer was my first summer of intentionally storm chasing, and there was this one day where my friend Chris Henry, he lives here in Phoenix, and he was like, I want to go storm chasing with you. And I was like, all right, there's storms up to the north. We can see the clouds. Like, let's head that way. So we drive, an hour, and I can see some lightning up in the clouds. And I'm like, all right, we're getting close to them. And then they, started moving away from us, and the roads were all windy. And basically, the storms just ran away from us. And we weren't, after that point, we weren't within 50 miles of the storms for the rest of the day.
See,
and, it was kind of defeating too, because it was like I had this person that was like, I want to come storm chasing with you. And, it was at that moment I realized that I really had no idea what I was doing.
See, I think this is,
and if I would have known a little bit more about, maybe not even known, but thought a little bit more critically about how the storms behave. Most of the time, they build up during the midday over the mountains, and then in the late afternoon, they start rolling off the mountains out into the open desert. And I knew that, but I got, tunnel vision, there's the storms, drive toward the storms. And they did generally what they do. And if I would have thought that through. And his suggestion that day was, let's go to this town called Wickenburg. And if we would have gone to Wickenburg like he suggested, we would have had the storms roll right over us. But I was like, no, drive toward the storms. And yeah, that was an eye-opening day.
You get excited.
I definitely, after that day, I did some work to better prepare myself to not completely drop the bag like that ever again. So.
But what you're saying kind of makes me realize, what we were talking about earlier, how this would be different from the plains. You don't have to worry about the mountains.
Right.
As far as driving, anybody who's driven through the Great Plains knows that you're not generally running up against any sort of natural obstacles that there's as far as roads. You're not driving
right.
Here's a valley or a buttes or whatever that you're going to have to circumnavigate before you can get to X position. You pretty much can drive straight. And then turn onto another road that's going to go straight.
Right. Yeah. Road network is a big part of storm chasing, and there's most of the Great Plains has an excellent road network where if there's a storm, you can get, depending on how close to the storm you're trying to get. If you're trying to get right next to it to be up close and personal with a tornado, usually you can do that. And if you're somebody that wants to get the mothership supercell, usually you're further back. Usually you're shooting wide, and you could be, miles away, and you want to be miles away to be able to see that form and that structure. And in that case, you can, the plains, you really have a lot of leeway of where you can go to get to and get the different angles. But yeah, here in most areas, our road network is not conducive to doing the things like you could on the plains. And there was another day last summer where I'd made, having understood that I had no idea what I was doing, I reached out to a local storm chaser and said, hey, do you want to go chase sometime? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And so he was like, and this guy, I think he's a savant, actually. His name's John Serlin. He was like, oh yeah, there's going to be a haboob. It's going to roll off these mountains. We're going to go to Wickenburg, meet in Wickenburg, and then we're going to get on this road and stay ahead of the haboob. And the models were showing the haboob was going to travel toward the southwest. And so I'm driving out to Wickenburg on the day, and I text John, and I'm like, I'm on my way. And he's like, I'm not on my way because I ran over a nail and I'm at the tire shop getting my tire patched. And then I was like, all right, well, he told me the plan, so I'm going to try to do it. So first of all, I drove down a dirt road, which is like usually not what you want to do, because these things move so fast. If you put yourself in a position where you can't get on the highway and punch it,
Yeah.
you can just screw yourself over and not being in the right position. And that's what I did. The wind coming out of the storms that were going to kick off the haboob, it ran right over me. I got hit with like hail, and then it started raining, and then I was trying to get up to the highway, driving down this dirt road, and at that point I had already lost. Like the wind front was already in front of me, and I wasn't going to be able to. I was probably not going to be able to catch it because I was down on that dirt road. Also, it went south instead of southwest, and there was no road heading due south. So, and so it showed like the unpredictability of it, and it also showed me like the decision making. Like even if I hadn't gone down that dirt road, I might have gotten run over and not been able to catch it, but it certainly didn't help.
Yeah, I think that what you're like, this gets to something making connections with other types of photography here, but like the understanding of the weather and how it can be unpredictable, but putting yourself in the best position is similar to like what I've talked to like street photographers who like, they study like how the light's going to hit certain buildings when they're going to get like reflections off of buildings from the sun so that it's going to light this area or whatever. Like, and you're obviously going to deal with, if it's a cloudy day, like or like the weather changes, it's going to change like exactly what you're doing. But then knowing what to do, where to go when the weather shifts. Like we talked to Phil Penman a while back, and he talked about how he's like, okay, if it's a sunny day, this is where I'm going to go this time of year if I want this type of shot. But if it rains, I'm going to go to these intersections in Manhattan because that's where the steam vents are. So I get great steam shots of like people walking down the street. So it's like knowing all of the permutations and how put yourself in a place to get good photos, depending on what. It's unpredictable, but like knowing when things are moving, like where you can go to like put yourself in the best position. So I'm like curious, like how often how much time do you have to set up when you're like, okay, I'm here, I'm getting out of the car, I'm setting up my gear to take a shot. Like how much time do you have to like actually like set up to get a photo?
It's so variable. I mean, sometimes, you have, if you get to the spot right when the storm's rolling in, like you might have like a couple minutes or something. And it depends on what kind of storm it is too. And it depends on the safety precautions that you want to live by. When it comes to lightning, I know storm chasers that there'll be lightning overhead and all sorts of dangerous stuff, and they'll be standing out in it and and all that. And obviously it's risky. And so usually when the lightning's doing that, it's like I try to open up the hatch of my car
and shoot out of that.
Set up the tripod under the hatch, and I sit in the car like crisscross applesauce.
Yeah,
like on the bed of my SUV. But yeah, but if it's a haboob, as long as you have a highway next to you that you can travel in the same direction of the haboob, like you can have the haboob roll up within 50 feet of you or something, and then grab the camera and throw it in the car and then speed off down the highway down to the next spot. So it's really variable, and there's something to trying to get there early. And fortunately, a lot of times when I've been chasing this summer, I have flexibility on my time. Most people don't have that. Like, most people, you work 9 to 5, and then, okay, then you get off work and maybe you can go chase a storm.
Right.
And, maybe the storm you really wanted to chase, you needed to be at the spot at 3 o'clock. Well, you had to work till 5. So, what are you going to do? But that's something last summer where I was always getting the stuff late and trying to play catch up. And it would be like, okay, there's a storm. I can see the flashes of lightning. I can look on the radar and see where it is. Okay, it's a 45-minute drive. Well, I'm going to punch it up there. And then you pull up and there's like, one last lightning bolt, and while you're driving and you're like, all right, I made it. And then you get the camera out and you set up and it's like the storm dies and you were too late. And I've done that like multiple times. I finally learned my lesson on that, where if there's a storm actively going and I'm 45 minutes or more away, that I try to figure out a different plan, because it just doesn't work like that.
You're probably not going to catch it.
Yeah, so it's, part of it is planning, like, and you don't, you can't really plan a storm chase days ahead. Like, you can look at what's probably going to happen and be like, oh, this is probably going to be a really good day 3 days from now. But even then, the day before, sometimes the atmosphere will just expend more energy than what the weather models predicted, and the meteorologists predicted. And then the day after that, usually it's like the energy's been used up, and the storms aren't going to be good the next day. So you can even look at the models and be like, okay, Tuesday looks okay, but Wednesday looks like the day. And then you could, like, Tuesday, be like, I'm sitting home, whatever. And then on social media, you see all the other storm chasers got incredible, crazy storms. And then the next day you go out and it's ho-hum. So there's just all these different factors. So when it comes down to it, it's almost like the morning of is like when you really like have to figure out what you think is going to happen, and figuring out when it's probably going to happen, where to get to, and then looking at your schedule and saying, like, this is what I have to do today. Like, if I can't get to this spot at this time, I have to pick something else.
Right.
So,
I mean, I'm curious, how do you, like, we talked about mental health in our last discussion, and so how do you mentally and emotionally cope with like a bust when you like put in all this effort and it doesn't pay off?
I mean, the biggest thing for me is, like, every time I go out, I try to get a photo, like at least one photo that I'm proud of. And that doesn't mean it has to be a storm photo.
Right.
And a lot of these storm chasing missions out in the desert, I'm ending up in areas where it's not, it's desert. It's kind of dried out. In the summer, we have these thunderstorms, but they're so isolated. It's not like most of the time you're not driving out in the desert and it's green and wildflowers like it is in the spring. Like, usually,
right.
Most of these stretches of desert haven't seen rain in 3 months, so everything's brown. And I'll end up these places by the side of the road where there's, there's like junk sitting around. So sometimes I'm shooting like this dystopian, like a brown landscape with like, some junk. So then I'll, if I'm sitting around waiting for a storm, I'll be like, well, instead of like getting on my phone and looking at Instagram or Threads or whatever, I'll take the camera and I'll go like try to be creative and shoot what's around me. And then if the storm comes in at the bust, well, like I shot something.
Right. Yeah, you're getting something out of it. It's not just like a all or nothing.
Yeah, and I've shot like all sorts of different things while storm chasing, and even like that day where John Cernlin got the flat tire and I messed up the Haboob chase. Kind of like I got some awesome photos that day. Like I found this abandoned gas station. It was built in the 1930s, and it was basically like the roof was gone. It was just like the walls and the bones of it, and there's like a little graffiti in it, but it was like interesting light, and so like I was like driving down the highway, like I don't even know where to go to like try to catch a storm, and it was all dusty because I was eating the dust of the haboob. Like I was at the back end of it, so I saw that and I was like, well, I'm gonna go shoot that because that's awesome, and and then I was driving like later on down the road. I was basically like, all right, well, like I'm just gonna head home because I don't know where to go for storms. And I'm driving down the highway and I look over and there's this cloud and the sun was behind it and it had the crepuscular, I don't know how to pronounce that word, crepuscular, the like the God rays. Like the light rays were
I always call it the God lights. That's all I don't know what they.
Yeah, they're and like this cloud, like there are rays coming out of like every single side of the cloud. And then there's these mountains out in the distance, and it was like dusty, so it's like kind of like atmospheric. And I pulled up, and there's like a field. It was an agricultural area. Believe it or not, in Arizona we have agriculture, so it was like a field with mountains, and then this crazy light ray cloud thing. And that was like one of the best photos I got all summer. And from like a extreme weather perspective, it was a bust of a day. But
the other stuff,
I was pretty happy. I was still pretty happy with what I got. So, and the day where me and Chris were behind the storm, 30 to 50 miles all day. Like we shot sunset out of viewpoint, and I got like a really cool shot that day where it was like layers of distant mountains and then a highway coming up, and there's like a car on the highway, like leading lines, and like so I have all these memories. Like, okay, that day was a bust on the storm chasing part of it, but I came back with good stuff. And I also look at it too, like I'm not like I do storm chasing, but I'm not like that's not the only thing I do. So I like being able to look at my portfolio from like the monsoon season, and it's instead of like if this summer maybe I got like 5 lightning photos that I liked, and then 5 haboob photos that I liked, and then if that's all I got, I wouldn't be happy with my summer, but I got like all this other stuff too.
Right,
and it makes it more diversified where I'm not looking at like my Instagram feed and it's like lightning, haboob, lightning. It's like I have that stuff in there, but then I have like all these other different elements that are also part of being in Arizona during the monsoon season.
It's all part of the Arizona experience.
Yeah, for sure. So that's so doing that stuff is like one way that I cope with like, because it can be frustrating and devastating when like there's some crazy storm going on and you're not on it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and then you go on social media and you see all these photos of these great storms. So another thing is I really try to stay in the mindset of every time I go out, I'm learning. And usually if I'm making mistakes, I'm learning more than if I didn't make a mistake. Or at least, got on a great storm, made as little mistakes as possible and got on a great storm. Okay, I got on a great storm, I got great photos. If I don't, I'm gonna learn from that.
Now, I think that a lot of people look at like storm chasing as kind of like a solo endeavor, but you've already mentioned that you found some community around it. How did you connect with other Arizona storm chasers? And how does that
That's a
like
good question.
having that
Yeah, I
network
mean,
of people, what does that mean to you as a photographer?
right? Yeah. Um, I mean, because I've operated as a, like doing photography for 15 years. Um, before I got like into like, okay, I'm gonna go storm chasing. I already had like connections with storm chasers. Um, and so I mean, um, one of the biggest ways I found community is a friend of mine who we've been following each other's work for a long time. Um, I had sent her like a DM on Instagram, like, are you storm chasing today? And she's like, no, but hey, like, I have this group chat with like all my storm chasing friends, and we just, like talk about like what's going on. Sometimes meet up, like whatever. If you want to, like, I'll add you. It'd be awesome. I was like, sure. And then, so like almost every single day where I'm thinking about chasing storms, or even if I'm not, but like I see cool storms going on, like I'm in there and we're like talking about it. And I've ended up meeting up with and making like in real life friends with like a couple of the people in that group chat.
Yeah, it's a, you're
That I didn't even know before, like, really before I got added to it.
it seems like
And so it's
something
been
that would benefit a
awesome.
lot from having a network and community of people who to talk to about it. Like, oh, like especially when you're talking about, hey, what are you thinking is going to happen today? Like, how are we feeling about like the models we're seeing, and like where things are going to break. Like having that network of people like makes it both a little easier to like maybe put yourself in a good position, but also like you've got that camaraderie among like, that hey, like, oh, it happens, this happens, we've all had busts, and we've all had this doesn't always work out every time. Just having that sort of network
Yeah,
to fall back on is seems like it would be very helpful.
right. And it's uh and even just being on social media and like being supportive of people. Um, for a long time, I followed her name's Lori Grace Bailey.
Yeah.
She's a incredible storm chaser down in so far southern end of Arizona, and like I've always been a fan of her work, and I was like, just like whenever she'd post something, like I was posting things like in support of her work. And when she would post stuff not related to photography, like I was also like, like just kind of like kind of, just like supportive of, like her or, and other people in the community too. But specifically with her, like, um, she's actually kind of mentored me a little bit as a storm chaser as far as, um, like I can message her and she'll, share kind of tips with me. And, it was, making a connection that way too. So, I think I've been kind of fortunate, but it's also been, um, because I'm invested in community and supporting others. Then like I get support back. Um, it's really cool that way. And then, and then actually we also have an event that happens here in Phoenix. There's a local photographer whose name's Andrew Pilage. He's not a storm chaser. He's actually, he's him when it comes to, photographing Frank Lloyd Wright architecture. Like he's the guy, at least over the last 15 years or whatever. But him and his wife, they own this house in like a historic neighborhood in downtown Phoenix, and then they converted like they had like a laundry room and like some other small room, and they basically like knocked down a wall and like made it a gallery space. And then they have their like backyard set up to entertain. And so it's called the Brill Studio and Gallery. And they do a monsoon show, open call to artists. And then if you get accepted, you print your work, put it up. And they also do, because doing time lapse films is like a big part of storm chasing nowadays too. They also like, you can submit those. And then this year they did two, because it's not a gallery that's like in a business district where it's open all the time.
Right.
It's like in their house. So.
Yeah.
So they do kind of like two opening night events and then a closing night event a month later. And I actually, it was an awesome event. I was there all 3 nights, and I met like multiple people in the community that I'd never met before that are now my friends. And also people from like from the group chat that I'm in, like they showed up. And it was just like a big kind of community support, but also like there was just people like from the neighborhood that were like heard like, oh, there's this like event, like I'm gonna go show up and see what's going on. And then you get to like share kind of like storm photography with people that aren't necessarily part of the community of storm chasing, but are like part of the local community.
That's the thing. Like, yeah, I always tell people about building community, and they talk about, I don't know anybody who, like I talk to about photography, or if I can talk to about just art, or any of these things are like, there isn't anything like you have to show up to stuff. There's stuff out there, and if you show up, you're going to meet people, and those people might not be the people you're going to have a meeting, but like that might lead you to something else. Like it's just the showing up is so important. Like meeting people in person is like I have many internet friends who I value very much, who I care about and value, but also like when you meet people in person, it's just like it solidifies things in a lot of ways.
For sure.
And grows that connection. It makes it that much stronger by meeting in person. Speaking of intense or strong, have you had any intense or dangerous experiences during a chase that you want to share?
Yeah, sure.
You don't have to. I'm just saying. It just made me think.
So this summer, we had a huge haboob. August 25th was the date, and this haboob, it was big, impressive, and also it rolled right into Phoenix. There's been other haboobs, in the last few years that are kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so storm chasers got photos and videos of them, and they were online. But it was, probably mostly within like the storm chasing community or the photography community, that saw that stuff. But this one on August 25th, because it rolled into the city, it made like international news.
Yeah, the pictures are incredible.
So basically what happened on this day for me is I headed down south of Phoenix toward the area where the haboob was going to be coming from. And the weather models, fortunately, the haboob basically did what the weather models predicted. So I was in the right place at the right time. But okay, this is going to sound random, but it has to do with gas prices. Here in Phoenix, our gas prices are, like almost $1 higher than if you get gas outside the city. So I'm heading down to like try to catch this hobby, but I'm like, I'm going to get gas when I get down south. So I'm in Casa Grande, Arizona, and I pull up at a gas station that, the gas price was still high there. And so I got like a drink and all this stuff, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to the next gas station down the road that I know has cheap gas. All right, so I'm driving down the interstate. But I know I need to be like keeping my eye on the horizon for the wall of dust.
Yeah, to see if it's coming.
And so, I'm driving, like trying to like keep my eyes on the road, but look at the sky. And then I see the sign for the gas station go by. I missed the exit. I'm like, all right, well, there's a few miles down, there's another gas station. So I'm driving, and I see the wall of dust coming over the mountains. And I'm like, oh crap. So I like get down to finally like get to near a gas station, and like the haboob is literally like within a mile. And it's moving like 60 miles per hour or something like that. So it's coming in fast. So I find this little field next to the gas station. I'm like taking some pictures, and another storm chaser, Becca Furnace, she pulls up in her 4Runner, and she like pops out, takes a picture, and she's like, all right, see you later. And I'm like, am I about to get run over by this? And I'm like, and then she basically like peels out like to leave. And I'm like, well, I should probably go. And then I'm like, but I need gas. So I pull into the gas station, and it's like the gas pump like is prompting me like 8 different things and taking forever. I'm like, come on. And then all of a sudden,
are you a rewards member, Jake?
It was such a crappy gas station. I don't even know if it had a rewards program or not. I don't know what it was asking me. I was like frantic. So the dust like is literally starts like hitting the gas station, and I have to like cut the pump off early at like $10, and I get on my car and hop on the freeway, and all of a sudden it's like almost zero visibility. And the dust storm's moving at like 60 miles an hour. And somehow I got ahead of it. So you can imagine in that visibility, I was probably driving in not a safe way.
Trying to get out. Yeah.
But but I had missed so many other haboobs in the past. I was like, and this is like a big one.
Yeah,
like
I'm
I
gonna
could
get
tell
this
this
one.
was like the biggest one. So I got ahead of it and got the photos and all that. So
I know those like driving those.
But the lesson I learned that day is if I need gas, to just get gas and not
get it earlier. Earlier is better.
not be pulling up to the gas pump on empty right before I'm trying to shoot a storm.
Yeah, before the storm hits. Yeah, I mean, I've many years of driving in like blinding snowstorms in the Midwest. Is always like, you know what? I'm gonna fill up first, because I don't want, when I can't see is not when I want to like be wondering where I'm gonna get gas from. So I mean,
it was, and driving through that haboob was, it was pretty. I mean, it was pretty crazy, and I got I was in Phoenix when the haboob rolled in, and I couldn't figure out how to get to the spot. Like the spot where I was trying to go, I'd never been to before. It was the top of this parking garage. And that's where like the footage that ended up like on national, international news, it was storm chasers that were on top of that garage. It's at the Phoenix airport. But I'd never been up there before. And so I didn't know where to go. So I was driving like around the airport, like in a loop, trying to figure it out. And then the Haboob hit, and it wasn't. This was before dark. It was like 5 o'clock, and the sun goes down at 7. It was like 2 hours before sunset, and it literally got dark as night for like a full minute. It's like when it rolled in and the dust was the thickest.
How long? I mean, so that's how it doesn't last that
Pretty
long,
big.
or like
I mean,
when it's going over you, if it goes over you. Like
yeah, it's basically because it's a wall of dust. It's basically, yeah, it's not like there's this swath of dust like 50 miles across.
It's not a dust storm.
It's like, yeah, it's literally like the wind is pushing this wall of dust, and it's kind of like a wall in your house or something, where it could be 70 miles across, but if you look at a cross section, it's just like a narrow band where it's like really thick.
Okay.
And then after it rolls over, usually it's dusty, but it's not like zero visibility dust.
What do you have to do? Like, I mean, you probably don't want to be out there like with your gear when it hits, but any precautions you take with your like cameras and stuff like.
Yeah, I mean, when it's a dust storm of that magnitude, it's basically like get in the car before it actually like completely bowls over you. But I've been after that one, like a week or two later, there was a nighttime haboob, but it was like a pretty mild one. And in the group chat, I was actually like messaging, and because I could see it like in the distance because of the city lights. I was in the city, and with like all the light glow from the city, like I could kind of see it. And so I messaged in the group chat. Somebody else was out photographing, and I was like, "Hey, is that is that a haboob?" Like he was like further, like closer to it. He was like, "Yeah, but it's like a pretty weak one." So I was out at this spot, and I actually like got ran over by that one while I was like, I'd walked from my car like 500 yards out into the desert to like have like saguaro cactus in the foreground. And I like kind of shot it while it was coming in, and then it kind of like ran me over, but it was so, like it wasn't like a big deal because it was a weak one. But for sure, like I had like my weather sealed lenses on my camera bodies. Like when like that's like the one precaution that I take no matter what when it's like haboob time is like. I have 3 weather sealed lenses. Those are the lenses I'm using. Like anything else is staying in the bag.
Yeah.
And the bag's probably in the car.
So, I mean, I can get how this type of thing can become a bit of an obsession. Because you're just like you're chasing it. Literally, you're trying to like get the sort of fix of, getting the shot. Like, what do you see as the positive and negative effects that this has had? Again, we've talked about mental health before, but also like your overall like life balance.
Yeah, it's because I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I was like kind of like trying to go storm chasing so frequently that like toward the end of the season, like I would be going to leave, and my daughter would be like, "No, like I just want you to stay and tuck me into bed and like whatever." And so it's like, that's part of it is like trying to balance it with the rest of life. And so I've pretty much just had to like be okay with like pick my spots of when I can go, but not overdo it.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, it's like for me there's nothing like it when I'm going out storm chasing. Even like, and obviously like I love like traditional landscape photography, whatever you want to call it. Like I obviously love that. But there's like an adrenaline rush with storm chasing, and it's like And it even starts like if I'm leaving early, like if I leave the house at 1 p.m. and the storms aren't really supposed to get going till 3 p.m., like even like the first 2 hours in the car where it's like I'm just on the interstate listening to music and like the clouds are like way off in the distance and like it's just basically just like a road trip at that point. Like my heart's already starting to pound. Like I already have adrenaline coursing through my body.
Yeah, you're getting pumped up. You're getting amped up, like for.
And then when you get in the zone of the storms and like there's all this like stuff going on and like you're trying to anticipate what's going on, like there's just it's pretty intense. And so like and so that I mean that aspect of it too, like doing that like multiple times a week, it can be it can kind of be exhausting, and it's in a way that's different than like like back when I was like super into like trying to do like wilderness landscape photography and be like I'm gonna go backpacking and like carrying a 40-pound bag through the wilderness, hiking 10 miles, like that's like a different type of.
It's adrenaline. It's adrenaline exhaustion. You're getting like you're burning out from like being like too on edge. It's not the same as like just like being like physically wearing yourself out. It's it's this sort of you feel fried, like you just yeah. I know what you're talking about. It's a distinct difference from being just like I'm physically beat. There's just some sort of like you're kind of like feel physically worn out, but it's like your body can't produce more adrenaline. You've emptied yourself, and you are spent, adrenaline wise, and you're just like, okay, I feel like a shell in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
and
yeah, for sure. So yeah, I have to kind of like pace myself, but at the same time, it's like we have a short window, and like this year I mentioned like the monsoon is driven by this high pressure that sits over different parts of the Southwest that can move and change what's going on with the monsoon. Well, this year, for almost the whole month of July, it was actually over Arizona, like kind of like the middle of the state, which means we got no storms here for basically like 2-3 weeks in a row. And it was sending all the moisture into New Mexico. New Mexico usually like gets a little monsoon action, but like not anywhere as much as we do here in Arizona. And they had like New Mexico had like the best monsoon that they've probably ever had, at least for like the month of July. And Lori Bailey, she was like she was out there chasing it. I think she photographed like 6 haboobs in New Mexico, like over the course of a few weeks. And then we were out here. Everybody in Arizona is like out here, like, man, this sucks. And then it shifted, and in August and into September, it was like going strong. And I was like, well, July sucks, so like I gotta go hard. And
yeah.
but by September, I was like, yeah, like you said, I was fried.
Maybe overcommitted yourself.
I was in some ways, I was glad that the monsoon season was over, because I was like, I need
you need a break.
Like I need to come down from this a little bit.
Yeah, recharge the batteries. So now that you've gained some experience at this and you feel more comfortable at it, what advice would you give to other photographers who want to chase the monsoon or just like do storm chasing in general, but don't know where to begin?
I mean, if somebody's here locally, like living in Arizona, I mean, it's pretty much just like when a storm's kind of near your house, just like like go out and try to get some lightning photos and do it like lightning is easier to shoot after dark because you can just do a long exposure and you can just do them over and over and over back to back and you'll eventually get something. And it does see, because I've had days where it's been like, okay, I'm going to drive like 3 hours because there's going to be this awesome storm, down there. And there's other stuff going on, but like, it looks like it's going to be the best, like down near Tucson. And I'll drive down there and then it'll kind of bust. And then I'll look at the weather radar and there'll be a storm like right over my house. And I'm like, I could have gone 10 minutes from my house and gotten a better storm than what I drove 3 hours to get. So if you can stay local, and that goes for anywhere. Like if you're like, okay, I live in Delaware, but I want to get lightning photos, like you don't have to travel, just like pay attention to the weather every day. And when like the storms are getting close, you just go to like a local spot and like try it out.
I think,
and then the other thing is like, if you're traveling to go try to do storm chasing, whether you're going to the plains or like Arizona or whatever, like just know that if you're planning in advance, like the week that you're going to be somewhere, like it could be a down week and there could be no storms. But definitely, I've had, like I said, success with like storm chasing, but also keeping my mind open to shooting other things. And so, everybody has their own way of doing it, but I do think it's beneficial to keep your mind open that whenever you're going out, like, you get what you can get and, you'll have a good time.
I think that's great advice because you're not setting yourself up to like, I'm only successful if I get a storm photo today. I'm going to go out here and maybe I'll shoot a landscape and I'm going to find something, or I'm going to find something interesting. I'm going to find an interesting cactus, or I'm like, wherever you are, you're going to find something else that you're going to shoot. And if the storm comes along, like, great, I'm here. Like, you're keeping an eye on it. That is your main goal. But like, while you're there waiting for the storm or looking for the storm, finding other things to shoot gives you a sense of purpose and accomplishment, that you actually did something while you were out there, as opposed to just like, oh, this is a bust and I didn't get anything out of it whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's I kind of have a funny analogy for it, especially here in Arizona with our what we talked about, the bad road network. It's kind of cliche to anything that you're doing. It's kind of a cliche to be like, oh, it's like a game of chess. But I've been super into chess lately, so I've come up with like all these crazy analogies with it. I won't get too deep into it because anybody that doesn't play chess will like turn off the podcast. But it is like a game of chess where like you have to to be like a really good storm chaser, you have to like learn all this theory instead of chess theory. It's meteorology. But you're not playing against an opponent. The storms aren't thinking about what you're doing. Right. They have no idea you're even there.
Yeah.
And in a game of chess, you have like 16 pieces on your side. Well, in storm chasing, you have you. And maybe you're with a friend, but like you're in a car. So you can only move yourself. And it's, with the road network, it's not like you can move anywhere on the chessboard. Like you only have certain ways you can move at certain speeds depending on the roads. But the storm, it's like the queen, it can move anywhere it wants. Oh, but you have one piece. Well, the storms, it can spawn new queens left and right. It can have its pieces disappear. It can kind of do whatever it wants. And you can't checkmate the storms, but the storms, a lightning bolt could drop and you could get checkmated, and you do not want to get.
Yeah, you don't want to get checkmated.
So I don't know. I think when you put it in that perspective, it kind of shows like how difficult storm chasing can be. And I'm not trying to say it's like necessarily more difficult than other types of photography, but it's definitely its own beast, and it's harder than it looks. Yeah, I guess like anything else, you see the photos other people post on the internet.
And you think that you've got to be that person.
They don't tell you. They don't tell you. Oh, I busted 8 times before I got a good photo this summer, or they don't tell you, just everything that it took to get there. And that goes, for people that, like yourself that shoot weddings. There's all these different parts of wedding photography where it's beyond the photography part.
Yeah.
That makes it difficult. So every form of photography has its own challenges, but yeah, storm chasing is definitely a unique piece.
Hey, photographers, imagine losing every photo, project, or document in a single crash. Scary, right? That's why there's Backblaze, the simple, reliable, and automatic way to back up your important data and photos to the cloud. Photographers, creatives, and everyday users, Backblaze protects what matters most with unlimited backup and easy recovery whenever you need it. I use Backblaze as part of my workflow to back up my most recent shoots until they're delivered to my clients, my most important business photos and documents as well, and all of my personal photos and videos. It's just $9 a month or $99 a year for unlimited data backup from one computer with 1 year version history and access to your data from anywhere. Crashes happen. With Backblaze, your files are safe, secure, and just a click away. Start your backup today at nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/Backblaze or click the link in the episode notes, because peace of mind is priceless. That's nerdyphotographer.com/Backblaze, because you never know when a crash is going to happen. Are you ready to take your website design to the next level? Look no further than Elementor, the cutting-edge WordPress website builder designed for professionals like you. With Elementor, you have the power to create entire website themes and layouts that are as unique as your imagination. Say goodbye to rigid templates and constraints. Elementor empowers you to design custom headers, footers, pages, posts, archive pages, and even WooCommerce product pages, all from a single user-friendly platform. The best part? You don't need to be a coding wizard to use Elementor. Say farewell to the days of wrestling with complex code or being dependent on a myriad of plugins. Elementor offers you a seamless, code-free design experience that puts you in control. So why limit your creativity? Choose Elementor and unleash your website design potential. Elevate your online presence with a website that truly represents your vision and brand. Get started with Elementor today. Just go to nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/Elementor and witness the transformation of your WordPress web design experience. It's time to build an extraordinary website with ease and finesse. Don't wait. Create with Elementor.
Hey. And now for my favorite part of the show. What's that say? Useless information. This is always death.
Jake.
Oh man, this is my least favorite part, because this is where you make me look really dumb.
No, this is as recently as the 18th century. What do you think the average height of a human man was?
All right, the 18th century. So the 18th century, that's the 1700s.
Yep.
And currently the average height of an adult man is what, like 5'10"?
Yep.
And so the 1700s, I'm going to say 5'8".
It's even shorter. It's 5'6".
5'6". Wow.
5'6", which is why it's very funny that people made fun of Napoleon and made he was short. He was actually 5'7" or 5'8". Excuse me. He was actually kind of tall.
He was tall for the age.
Yeah, for the time. But everybody kind of referred to him as they made fun of him. It just wasn't true. He wasn't short. He wasn't super short.
That's pretty funny.
Jake,
what?
It's a pleasure to have you back. Or did you have a question about Napoleon site?
No, I'm just no, good. That was a good one. Good food for thought.
Definitely. Thank you for coming back. Where can listeners find you and see more of your work?
Mostly on Threads, Instagram, photo app, occasionally on Blue Sky, Facebook. But Threads, Instagram, or where I'm most active.
At Jake Case Photo.
Yeah. Or you can just type my name into Google and
it'll send you somewhere and find your photos.
Yeah, Google AI will tell you will pop up and tell you about how crappy of a storm chaser I am. and then you'll find my social media.
That's nice of it to do. You can also go to the links in the episode notes of this episode, and I will have all the links to Jake's different profiles, so you can go and check them out. Jake, once again, thanks for coming by. You're welcome back anytime.
All right, thanks for having me.
Welcome back. The crew and I are approaching the eye of the storm. I really want to thank Jake Case for being on the show, and I hope you enjoyed our conversation and that you learned a little something about storm chasing and monsoon season. Be sure to go to the episode notes and follow Jake so you can see all of his amazing work, as well as being sure to follow the Nerdy Photographer on the socials at The Nerdy Photo. That's at The Nerdy Photo. Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, at The Nerdy Photo. And subscribe to the show and leave us a review. Why? Because you're cool. That's why. And that's what cool people do.
Entering the eye in 3, 2, 1.
Wow. That's just, glorious. It's one of those times that, having an audio only podcast really doesn't capture the grandeur of what we're seeing here, Until next time, everybody, stay safe and stay nerdy.
Who's that coming back to town? You better start listening. Who's your heart been beating about? You better listen.